Hey Cinephiles, I'm back, and in this one, we're doing a review. It's good to be back. It's been a while. I don't plan on trying to take as many more breaks like this, at least in terms of the length. You know what? I've had these glasses on a while. I have to wear glasses now sometimes, so that's great. You'll get to see me wearing these. But I actually kind of, they look better on me than I thought they would, so I'm not going to do too much self-deprecation humor with that, but I'll go ahead and, take these off real quick. Alright, there we go. So we're doing a review. This time around we're doing Se7en. So we're reviewing the film Se7en, which is by, David Fincher. And an interesting story about David Fincher, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that he did Alien 3, and it was such a tedious set and such a problem, and he didn't really get to make the film he wanted to make, and he had such a difficult time on set that he explicitly came out and said he'd rather have colon cancer than make another movie. And then here comes the script for Se7en. One thing led to another. He made that film, and now he's one of Hollywood's, most coveted, loved directors for for giving us films like Seven, which is what we were reviewing today. We're reviewing Se7en, The Social Network, Zodiac. I mean, we can go on with David Fincher films. But Se7en, what's interesting about this one is I'd always heard talk about its great cinematography. And I've yet to watch it. And it has always been on my thing like, okay, I'll have to check that out down the road. And I will have to say one thing right up front before, in the early going here. The cinematography does hold up. It is really excellent. And it deserves all the praise it gets. The cinematography is truly something great, guys. It is definitely worth of all of your praise. The cinematography, top notch. What's interesting about it is, you have like these superhero films that really focus on more action-based sequences and set pieces, maybe comedic timing. Se7en relies on a lot of different things. It relies on, yes, a little bit of metaphoring here and there. It ties in the seven deadly sins, of course, but it relies heavily on the cinematography aspect. It relies on heavy relatability in terms of its characters, in terms of the performances. Like I've heard some people crap on Brad Pitt's performance for Se7en. I think it's actually one of his better performances, especially as it gets down to the ending, which for whatever reason seems to be an unpopular opinion. For whatever reason, people think Brad Pitt did not do a good job at the ending of Se7en. He did a great job at it. I mean, in context, if you think about it, if your significant other's head was chopped off in a box, delivered to you out in the middle of nowhere, and your wife's killer was literally right in front of you on his knees explaining how he killed her, would you not go a little crazy and try to reject that and try to live in denial and then get emotional? Wouldn't you do that? That's exactly what he did. And what was so interesting about that is when that film came out at the time, Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow were currently dating at the time that film was made. That film was released in 1995, so when that film was being filmed, repeating words a lot, but when that film was being shot, Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow were dating each other, so it was very easy for him to probably really get into that part, but he still nailed it very well. Now if you have to say the standout of this movie, if we're talking about a full-on standout that had high amounts of screen time, I'm going to go Morgan Freeman. But an actor who really ate up the screen in the short amount of time he was there, I don't know how much in trouble I'm going to get for saying his name, so I won't say it, but you guys know who I'm talking about. He did really good in his role as the killer in Se7en. I tried watching Zodiac a little bit, a month and a half before I finally sat down and watched Se7en. And it's not that I don't like Zodiac. I just think Se7en, it's much more fast in terms of it doesn't have quite a lengthy runtime. I'm more interested in the characters and the world. The cinematography grips me more. It's so beautiful is an interesting word for it, because I wouldn't say beautiful in a typical sense. It's beautiful from a filmmaking sense, but it's not beautiful from in every other sense of the word. Because when you think of beautiful, you think of maybe flowers. You think of big flower fields or happy sunshine. Whereas Se7en, it focuses a lot on red hues, dark, gritty, intense imagery, but it just looks so good and crisp. And that was mid-90s, and so now I'm understanding all the comparisons, and I know that it's saying that it's taking inspiration from films like Chinatown for the new Batman film, The Batman, But I'm starting to understand why a lot of people who haven't heard those things or didn't really do all that research into that are saying that it looks like Seven in terms of cinematography. Because I agree, like the color palette and the crispness and the types of imagery you're seeing in the cinematography are, they resemble each other, and that is not a bad thing. That is a great thing in my personal opinion. I think it's personally, fantastic. The film score is something that kind of flies under the radar of this film, Seven, but it's something that really picks up as the film goes on, especially Wrath. That scene is phenomenal. It's one of the best, if not my favorite ending in film. Now, I was starting to put the pieces together, and I didn't fully predict that ending. I'm not going to be an idiot and try and say I predicted that ending, because I couldn't. Nobody probably has. The first time you watch it, there's no way in holy hell you can try and say, oh, I predicted the ending to Seven. No. You may predict one thing. You may predict, oh, this character may be in danger, but you're not going to predict everything. You're not going to predict, like, I knew there were still 2 more kills to be made. That's something they established, before, the 2 detectives, Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt's characters both go off with, the killer in the film. I refuse to say the actor's name because I don't want to get in trouble, because he's been, canceled and cancel culture for an act that he did, but we're not going to get into that here. We're reviewing a film. So anyway, when they're going, they knew it was still 2 kills left to be made, but I didn't even know who the 2 kills were. I thought they were just going to be 2 random people. And I know that would have been very underwhelming. So I thought that maybe a plot twist could have been, maybe it was 1 kill and then the other kill was that someone was supposed to kill him, or that one of the kills was going to be someone that one of the detectives knew. But I didn't really combine both of the 2, or really how it was executed. Like, I didn't think he would go after the wife because they never had an altercation. They never really met each other. He never really saw it. The killer in Seven never really saw a picture of Brad Pitt's character's wife, so how would he know what she looks like? So they did a good job misdirecting that. It didn't feel from too left field, though, because of how they set it up. They set it up as the 7 deadly sins. One was envy, and then wrath. He envied the life that Brad Pitt's character had, the killer did, so he tried to, quote-unquote, live that life in a forced way, and obviously, Gwyneth Paltrow's character was not for that. And I wouldn't be either in that scenario. I mean, he's a guy you never met before. He's just bombarding into your house and trying to, take the spot of your significant other. That's just, no. And of course, I mean, why would you ever be on for that? No one would. So he gets angry about it, and what does he do? Kills her, and then sends her head to them in the middle of a freaking desert. Like, by the way, I'll probably try to put a spoiler alert in here, but I mean, this film came out in the mid-90s, guys. It came out in the mid-90s, so I'll try and timestamp it a little bit for people to, skip, say, from this to this and contain spoilers. But after this, I won't really get into too much spoilers. All in all, it's an underrated film score. Is it my favorite film score? No. That belongs to Star Wars Revenge of the Sith's film score is up there. Interstellar's film score is up there. Interstellar is definitely my favorite Hans Zimmer score. But Seven's film score by Howard Shore definitely holds a special spot. It works perfectly for the film. But the cinematography is the only film that competes with it in terms of the quality of the cinematography. It has to be Blade Runner 2049. That's the only film I can really think of that really, battles with it. Blade Runner 2049 cinematography by Roger Deakins is top notch. It's amazing. It's great stuff. So seeing that cinematography being carried over, at least in quality and crispness, being repeated, which technically got released years past in Seven, was really interesting to see that this film, from a visual standpoint, has aged remarkably. The only reason you can tell it was made in the 90s is the opening sequence, the opening credits look a tad dated, but it's just because of how they shot that, how they put that out there, and a lot of heck, I mean, every 90s and 2000s film, if you watch early 2000s film, if you watch their openings now, their opening credit sequences, they do look a tad dated, just a tad. But that's the only thing that looked dated about the whole movie. The cinematography was great, the acting was great, the musical cues all worked very well. It was very well paced. The only reason why I wouldn't watch that film on a lot of rewatches is it's a very grim, dark, brutal film to watch. It's not going to be a film going to be easy to sit down and watch multiple times. But when I think about it, I mean, look at Joker. Joker's not an easy to digest watch. It's an easy to comprehend film, but it's not an easy film to digest, to witness this torture happening to this character, right? But I still watch that film. I've watched it when I bought it on Blu-ray. I watched it in the span of 1 week and a half. In a week and a half, I watched the film 5 times because I love Joker. I think it's a great film. Whereas Seven, I've watched it twice since I got it, and I got it a little over a month ago. It's definitely one of those films that you have to let it simmer a bit and then rewatch it. It definitely has a rewatch value for its amazing cinematography and performances. Morgan Freeman was the standout, the clear standout. If you have to look at that, I would say Brad Pitt, but just so I don't rock the boat too much, I'm going to say Morgan Freeman, then Brad Pitt, then the guy who shall not be named, and Gwyneth Paltrow. Not that Gwyneth Paltrow was the worst performance, just that those are my top 4, and they all did phenomenally well. But yeah, if you haven't seen Seven, I recommend it. Now to get into the number rating. Interesting thing here. I've only given positive reviews on my channel in terms of when I rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm not going to say whether or not this changes with future reviews. It won't change with this film, though. I'll give it a positive number, and that's an obvious thing. I haven't even stated a negative thing about this movie. The only negative thing is, if you're a person that does not like crime films, or you do not like dark, gritty, somber, moody, grungy vibes, you're not going to be able to experience this. But if any part of you is interested in any of this, of any of the research you put into this film, about looking it up, what it's about, it's a killer that kills based on the 7 deadly sins. So it definitely has some lore set up to it. It's not just a random guy, slashing around, killing people. So there's setup to it. It has great performances. Good chemistry and rapport with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, considering, Brad Pitt, this is the film that pretty much catapulted Brad Pitt into what he is. I would even probably say Gwyneth Paltrow, this film really helped put her up there too. I think Morgan Freeman at the time had already started to really, gain traction. I mean, of course, it helped everybody in it to blow up, but I think the biggest ones that helped was Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow. So a number rating I would give this. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is I know it's not for everybody. I wouldn't recommend this film to everybody. For me personally, I loved it enough to give it a 10, but on terms of a universal critic scale, I gotta keep that in mind. I wouldn't recommend it to every type of film watcher. So it gets a 9.5 from me, but it's a very strong 9.5. And in my book, if I'm ever hanging out with you and you want to talk about watching a movie, and I happen to have 7, because I do have 7 on Blu-ray, and if you ever mention wanting to watch that movie, or even contemplate the idea of wanting to watch that movie, I will already have it in my player before you can even ask the question. If I can tell you're contemplating wanting to watch that movie, we're already watching it. So that's how much I enjoyed that film. So that is 7 for you guys. What did you think about 7? Have you seen it? Have you not? Let me know in the comments section. Has my review changed your opinion? Are you still a bit iffy on it? Or do you love it just as much as I do? Just like I know a lot of people do. Let me know all these things in the comments section. I'm glad to finally be posting videos again. I'm going to be trying to really get this content grind out for you guys, because you guys deserve it. I've somehow been growing in subscribers, and I haven't uploaded a real film review in over a month. And that is truly amazing that you guys have somehow been helping me to grow when I'm not even posting content for you guys. So I really appreciate that. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the good stuff. And now we're on to another one. I appreciate you guys watching this. See you in the next one. See you around, guys.